In 2013, I had made the movie Hidden Hills with actor Ted Trent, and he, during that film, pulled me aside and asked me if I'd be interested in making a movie back on his father's former farm. It's just kind of an empty property back in a place called Belleville, Illinois. I'd never heard of that, but he said it was on the other side of the river from St. Louis, and I had heard of that. And by river, I guessed he meant the Mississippi River. So in July, he flew me back to the Midwest to stay with his brother and write an outline for a movie that he would star in. The first thing I noticed was a swamp that was covered in algae, and I thought those would be great visuals for some kind of opening to the film. And then I noticed the farmhouse itself was filled with trash, like trash up to the windows. You couldn't even walk through it. And I thought that would be a perfect setting for a movie about a depressed farmer. While staying at Ted's brother's house, I thought about my favorite childhood book, which was called The Forgotten Door by Alexander Key. But I loved this book, The Forgotten Door, and read it every year as a child. It was about a teenager who was from another planet and lands in a cornfield. And then the people of the town start to turn on him when they see him as a freak or as an outsider. And that book really connected to me as a gay child, even though I didn't understand that then. But I knew that I was part of a community that if I came out of the closet or they learned the truth about me, they would turn on me and metaphorically chase me out of town with pitchforks. Somebody lent me their library card so I could check out that book from the library and reread it. And I didn't want to plagiarize from it, of course, but I wanted to use it as inspiration for a movie about an adult from another world that sort of finds himself in Belleville, Illinois, coming out of a swamp and doesn't know who he is or where he's from. I knew that I was going to call this movie Belleville because I really like the idea of calling a movie by the name of the town that it's supposed to take place in. I decided to reach out to the media, specifically the Belleville News-Democrat, and let them know about my intentions to shoot a movie in their town. I just wanted to find the local acting pool, and I was also looking for props that would provide inspiration for the writing of the movie. Maybe props that felt like nature or something created from nature. And the first person who emailed me after the story came out was this lovely, beautiful soul.
Dan was looking for props, one of a kind, unique. I knew that Gary did that type of thing. He's a wildlife photographer, and he builds things to complement his work. Emailed Dan, and he said, we want to come out and see it. So that's how come they came out. That's how come our home was photographed. And I found myself with speaking lines in the movie.
I literally drove around and looked for locations to inspire me, and there was this store with a massive banjo in New Athens, Illinois. And I pulled in and met the owner, Chris Talley, and she told me about her banjo-led band. And I told her I was interested in having them be part of maybe a dance scene or something in the movie. And she was kind enough to say that I could use her store to hold auditions for people because I had no audition space. In her space is where I met amazing actors like Antonio St. James, who had just played a security officer in the big budget film Gone Girl. I reached out to talent agencies in St. Louis and held auditions for some of their actors, and that's where I met people like Andrew Harkins.
He hadn't written the script when I first met him, and so we just improvised some things together.
Fantastic. So he wrote you a part, did he?
He did write me a part.
Then I went back to Los Angeles, and in the month of August, I wrote the first draft, and in the month of September, I continued to polish a second and probably third draft. And we knew that, of course, Ted was going to play Neela, the main character from Another World, and we needed to find a villain to play Arlene, and we got a submission, a demo reel from Cooper Shaw from St. Louis, and her reel was so good, we wanted to offer her the role without an audition. I still didn't know who the farmer, the lead actor, would be, and Tim O'Leary, who had been so great co-starring in Hidden Hills with Ted, wanted the role, but he looked like John Hamm, and he was just a little too good-looking, in my mind, to play a Midwestern depressed farmer, so he took some time and grew out a full beard with gray in it, and that's how this guy ended up looking like this. And he got the role. By October, I flew back to the Midwest with my cinematographer, Brett.
Well, Dan and I go way back, as in 2 or 3 years ago, and this is our, our third movie together in a year and a half from when we shot it. So we push out movies really quickly, and we really clicked from the moment he actually emailed me. I was just out of film school, literally like a week out of film school, and he emailed me from a recommendation of a professor of mine. And he said, hey, are you interested in shooting this movie for me in Montana? And I said, I'd love to. And it's all history.
Fantastic.
It's all history from there, yeah.
And there we continued to cast smaller roles in the movie, holding auditions at SWIC, Southwest Illinois College.
Heard about the film coming to town, and there were LA producers and just actors from LA coming to town, and I thought I needed to be a part of that.
I got here through the auditioning process. My improv is really what landed me the role, and I was just really thankful for Dan for giving me the opportunity.
So on October 15th, we shot our very first scene, which happens to be the first scene of the movie, and we filmed in the algae-covered swamp. It was a freezing day. It was mid-October. Rain was coming down like a monsoon all day long, which to my eye was great because it's like $1 million in production value. That would be what rain would cost in Hollywood to make it rain like that. And I said we need to run with it. Now this was challenging because we were out in this property. We had no running water in that farmhouse. We had no bathrooms. We had a production trailer. Basically somebody lent us their camper, and that was sort of Video Village and the wardrobe trailer. But we were cold. All the crew was covered in ponchos, and we had umbrellas over the cameras. We were running 2 cameras. Seifer ran one and David ran the other. And Ted had to get in that swamp and pop out of it. And we only made him do it twice. And yes, we did let him wear a wetsuit under that crazy purple robe. I turned 40 about 9 days into that shoot, and I remember Ted and Tim and Brett took me out, and probably Johnny took me out to B.B. King's in St. Louis for my 40th birthday party, and that was really a nice little special memory. We had a very scary moment, probably the most dangerous moment I've ever had on set, with a fire that broke out while we were filming a campfire scene between the 2 guys. The fire did not come from the campfire, it came from the backside of this old house. And it's because somebody had put a blanket over the generator that we had to muffle it because, sound purposes. But it's not wise to put fabric over a generator. And next thing you know, we had flames shooting up the side of the house. We were all panicked because there are no hoses, and as I said, there is no running water on this property. But Ted was smart enough to realize there would be some water in the horse troughs because there were horses on the property. And he started running, grabbing buckets and putting out the fire with what little water was left in the horse trough, and we averted disaster. But that was truly one of the scariest things that I've ever been a part of. I was inspired to fill the movie with townspeople. I loved this movie called Bernie that Richard Linklater directed in Texas, where he used real people from Texas to kind of help tell the story. And a lot of my townspeople were actors that had auditioned, but some of them really were people I just found and loved the look of them. I mean, I went to bingo halls and poker places and church events, and I just found people and asked if they'd be willing to be part of it. And all my years of working with real people in reality television, because I used to cast shows like Trading Spouses and Renovate My Family, I knew how to make regular people comfortable in front of the camera, and that really benefited me in this movie. But all these people learned quickly that the way we film movies, me and Brett together, is we film fast.
They're the most professional movie company that I've ever worked with. I was on set, I showed up, I was escorted to where I was going to do my job. I was there for 10 minutes, wrapped everything, and was gone. It was amazing.
I mean, some people we just found through their past relationships with Ted, having grown up with him.
I have known Ted since I was in 7th grade and he was in 8th grade, and he actually asked me to come visit him on the set one day, and Dan, the director, asked me if I wanted to be in the movie that day.
The city really helped us find locations. They were very excited about the idea that it was their bicentennial the next year in 2014, so that this movie would release as part of their bicentennial celebration.
I love that the city shut down its town square here to shoot at the water fountain. there's just such cooperation. People brought us homemade meals to the set. None of this happens in Los Angeles.
The premiere of Belleville at the Lincoln Theater was very exciting. It was a red carpet event. We had antique cars bringing the actors to the set. We had NBC coming, Art Holiday from KSDK, St. Louis's NBC, doing a live remote at 6 o'clock evening news. We had a police presence there the whole time to make sure it went off without a hitch. So there was a lot of logistics going on. We also had drama behind the scenes that I won't get into, but we had somebody refusing to come to the premiere if I didn't come and deal with an issue, and we had a lot of things melting down. So it was not super fun for me, but the 300 some people that came and showed enthusiasm for this movie, actually we filled the theater, and it's a 500 seat, and I think we had another screening later that evening. So about 1,000 people from the town came that evening. What I was so excited with was how people felt about seeing the film.
It was absolutely wonderful, very thought-provoking, and makes you really stop and think about life.
I think the movie is awesome. It's really great to see local places, but it's an awesome movie with a really good story.
A lot of kids got to walk the red carpet with their parents.
So Miles, what do you think about being on the red carpet with Mom?
I think it's awesome. It's just an amazing experience to be on a red carpet. I mean, how many people get to actually say, hey, I've been on a red carpet? But I do.
Ted's family, his mom and his father were there.
So how excited are you for your son?
Oh, I'm real excited. I hope the film does well.
It's a Hollywood-style premiere right in the heart of Belleville. Our Art Holiday just got a chance to see a movie inspired by and filmed right in the Metro East. Art?
Well, Mike, the red carpet activity for the movie Belleville is well underway here at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville. Andy Sidwell is going to pan off and show you the crowd that's gathered here. It looks like we've got at least a couple of hundred people, maybe 300 people waiting so far. It's a quirky dramedy about friendship and finding hope. I just saw the movie. I would recommend it. The director of Belleville, I spent some time with him this afternoon, and he couldn't say enough nice things about the city of Belleville.
We had such a great time shooting Belleville that we decided to begin a Christmas film, and we're starting that next Tuesday, shooting it here in town.
But first, the world premiere of Belleville, which stars actor Ted Trent, who grew up in Belleville.
You know what I'm excited about is that I'm sitting in Belleville on Main Street in the theater that I first saw movies in when I was a kid. I'm doing this whole thing for the kids of Belleville, for the little kids that we used to be and would dream about where they made those movies on the screens. And I want kids to know that nowadays you can make a movie right here in Belleville. And I've done it.
Belleville residents who see the movie will recognize downtown clock shops, jewelry stores, and the fountain in the heart of town.
Our character from another world decides he wants to drink the water right out of the water fountain because he doesn't know better.
St. Louis actress Cooper Shaw is getting noticed for her Belleville performance. You're coming off a surprise award. You got the American Movie Awards Best Supporting Actress Award.
I know.
How crazy is that?
It's so crazy and wonderful and amazing and so unexpected for sure.
Have a great night here at the world premiere of Belleville.
Thank you.
And that's it from downtown Belleville at the Lincoln Theater, Art Holiday, News Channel 5.
And we're so thankful for people coming up and showing up for this movie. That's really the key to being able to do other things here is if people don't come this week and this weekend and really support it in their local theater, telling all their friends, posting on Facebook, all those things, word of mouth is the best form of advertising. And we don't have a big advertising budget the way studios do. So I can't stress enough how important if people want to see stories about the Midwest and stories about this part of the country, come support them with your dollars.
And people did support it. The movie sold out twice that night and probably played the next week. We even had a screening at the Skyview Drive-In, which was really cool because I had never seen any of my movies play in a drive-in theater. And then Warenberg Theaters came along and saw what we had done and held a screening at their big theater, Ronnie's, and that went well enough that they decided to open the movie in all 13 of their movie theaters throughout the Midwest in 4 states. So I decided to stick around because we were filming our next movie, Expect Delays, in the same town right after this premiere. And I decided to stay there for the whole summer to edit the Christmas movie and to be there for the marketing of the bigger rollout of Belleville in the fall of 2014. I had a lot of cast and crew come on board and help me market that movie as volunteers.
Starting this Friday at the Warenberg Theaters, and we've got Dan Steadman. He is the writer-director of Belleville. Congratulations.
Thank you, John.
It's got to feel good.
It feels great. It never happens, like you just said.
I know.
It doesn't happen for an indie movie with big stars in it. This kind of a release.
What kind of response are you getting?
Fortunately, people around here seem to understand that this is rare and it's worth supporting, but hopefully they're also liking the story. You know, it appeals from sort of age 10 all the way up to seniors, which is a broad demographic.
To me, it's the way movies used to be. I mean, there's no sex or violence. It has there's a moral of the story. This is a farmer, his wife dies,
Right.
and then all of a sudden this alien comes into his life in Belleville and
Is that what you thought it was, an alien?
Yeah, well, whatever, it could be. I mean, everybody has a different interpretation.
Which is what I wanted as the writer, yes.
Yeah, and that's successful. Give him a big round of applause. Dan Steadman, thank you so much for coming in. Continued success. We'd like to see that.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
Out of all the media attention from smaller newspapers in different markets and websites here and there, every piece of press we're grateful for. To the big newspapers like the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, what meant the most to me was actually the words on Facebook from this viewer of the film. I completely fell in love with this response to the story I had tried to tell.